podcast. I'm Frusile, and thank you so much for joining me. If this is your first time joining me, the philosophy of this podcast is to speak to the players who are shaping the metagame so that their voices can be heard. This week's voice is going to join us from South America. Timcanpy won the challenge with Stompy. He's on top of the MTGO Pauper leaderboards. We're going to talk to him about his dedication to grinding. Because if anyone grinds Stompy, Tim grinds Stompy. Thank you for joining me this week. Can you tell me a bit about yourself and how you got started playing the game?
Well, first of all, I'm glad to be here in your podcast. Thank you for inviting me. About the first question, I'm a Venezuelan guy living these days in South America countries because the situation of my country forced me to migrate. I started playing Magic in 21 years in Onslaught block. I play competitive tournaments in my country since 2016 and 2015. I entered to Magic Online in 2017. I decided to play Pauper because the decks are cheap, and when I play first time Stompy, I love the deck because most of the time I'm a aggro deck player, and I like so much the Pauper format because it's easy to play and don't have hard mechanics.
Well, Tim, you and I have played many times before, and every single time that we've ever played, you've been on mono green Stompy. So why Stompy? I really want to know what attracts you to that deck.
Okay, about your second question, Stompy I think is the better deck to grind in Magic Online because you can finish one league in 1 hour when you have practice. Like I said before, I love the aggro decks because mistakes many of the times don't punish to lose the game. And when I don't play Stompy, I try to play elves. That happen when I see many Tron or Boros decks in the meta game. I play many games. I play poker games like No Limit Hold'em and Pot Limit Omaha 4 cards. And I recently was a good player of League of Legends in the region of South America. When I was a child, I played all console games that you can imagine, and my favorite game of all times is Zelda Ocarina of Time.
At this moment in time, you are on top of the Pauper leaderboards with 24 trophies. I'm going to guess most of those are with Stompy, but you mentioned you also play elves. I got to ask you, how many trophies do you have with elves?
Most of trophies that I won in this league have been with Stompy. Only 2 of them have won with elves. And those 2 trophies with elves have been because I got paired against good matchups like Boros or Tron. I think if you have a nice sideboard against those decks, you can win easily these matchups, Elves versus Tron or Boros. Because the better card that you have in this matchup is Viridian Longbow. It's really effective against these 2 decks.
So you've truly been grinding it out with Stompy. Could you tell me about your challenge? What decks did you play against in Route to Victory?
My challenge started with a guy who lost the game due to inactivity, and I have to recognize that is a really good start. I was happy with that. I calmed down my nerves with a free game. Second round was against Flicker Tron. This is a hard matchup, and I lost the first game after he played Rhino on turn 3 with the help of Asimic Signet. And after this, he blinked it in many times and I could do nothing. Game 2, I get a very fast hand and was able to beat the Rhino with my Longbow and Akirion Ranger. Game 3, he mullet to 5 and he got stuck on 1 colored mana source, which let me resolve a Vines of Basswood when he tried to blink his Rhino, and my Skargan took the game. Round 3, I faced against the mirror match. There's not much to say here. It's just the player who gets better draws, and I did it in 2 games. Round 4, paired against my friend Saidin Roken, who plays Familiars. I lost the first game. He resolved to God Pharaoh and behind his blue spells. Nothing I could do in this game. The other 2 games, my Savage Swipes combined with the Epic Confrontation kill his walls, and allow me to win the match. In round 5, my opponent played White Tribe, Team Draw is his nickname. He get a perfect game 1 and killed me on turn 3 with the combo. Game 2, I equip my Lombo on turn 3, he conceded after that. Game 3 was poetic because I mullet to 5 and was stuck with 1 land for 4 turns. But he can find the tribe fast enough. When he decided to go all in with his tribe, I had the good shot in my hand to kill his tribe and this GG. Round 6, I play against Mono Red Barn. I get Elephant Guide in a precise moment in game 1 to equip Silhana that takes game 1. In game 2, he has bad luck and get flooded on lands, and I win 2-0 this game. Round 7, I play against C is for Cookie with his helps, and in a dramatic game against him, I lost in the third game. He's probably the best elves player in Magic Online. Anyway, no matter what happened in this round, I'm happy because I still get in the top 8. When top 8 start, I see I face against I have Top. He's for me one of the greatest players of Tron deck, but I get at really good hands both games and he goes 2-5 in the second game. Top 4 was very difficult and took a mix of luck and skill because he had a Scourge with Rancor. I jumped when he wrote GG in game 3. My final was one of my worst matchups, Boros Monarch, but I win 2-0 only because Silhana Lechwalker appears in second turn in both games and give me the match very easily. It's just for that. It's because I resolve its second turn in both games and I get to make it big with a lot of pumpers in my hand. And that is how I won the challenge.
Is there anything that you would change with Stompy moving forward?
If is there anything you will change moving forward? No. I don't change nothing because I remember before start the tournament, I run to Young Wolf in main deck, and I change to this tournament the Young Wolf for the Silhanas, and the Silhana Lech Walker give me the tournament because help me a lot to win the finals against Boro because, like I said before, I play in second turn and pump, and I win with Lech Walker. For that, I think I am not change nothing.
Could you tell me about the Tron matchup?
Okay, Tron matchup. Tron matchups is really hard. It's really hard because these days they playing multiple copies of Stonehorn Dignitary. Most of the people 4 copies, and they play 5 or 6 Blink over his Rhino or Stonehorn, and for that is really hard to play. I face in this tournament against 2 Tron, the first in second round, and I really have luck. In the top 8 was because he have bad luck and I have a very fast hand. But Elementary is really a bad matchup. It's really hard to win Tron. In fact, I really think that Tron today is the best deck of the format.
So some of the best Tron players took this challenge off to just play other games because they were so sick of playing with Tron. What do you think about that?
Oh, okay. I'm with you of this point. Much of the Tron players don't play this challenge, and that was a good point for aggro decks players like me. Tron is the best deck for me in this metagame, but it's a deck that you need a big focus because take this view. You play a control deck and you need take a lot of good decisions. Match takes time, and in the good point you're going to play 10 rounds. The horrible part is when you face against Mirror. Take a lot of time. It's a game like can take like 45 minutes in the good case, and your mind is very tired when you finish. Like I say before, it's the best deck because have answers to almost all tired decks of the format. but it's not deck for anyone. I think I can talk about with you about a project that I have in my mind. I have a conversation with Carbs, another player for MOL that nickname Reptilium. They are Brazilian players. I want to constitute a gaming house in Brazil for 2021. It's my project, and maybe I concrete. And if I concrete, I really happy to enjoy a gaming house with a good players. That was very awesome, very awesome.
So I did not play the challenge that you won because there was a Pauper event listed at a local game store, which I took down. I won the tournament by being the only person who showed up. Just the old-fashioned last man, first man, only man standing style. So I don't really have a play of the day. But what would your play of the day be?
I think my play of the day was in top 4 against Sarlanga because I think he have a better cards to beat me, but I did a fantastic game because I bluffed many time cards that I don't have in my hand. I think I did a brilliant game with the resources that I had in the moment. And in last turn of game 3, if he hit any pumper, he can beat me. For my fortune, he draw a land and I can advance to final game. But I think that I did a really brilliant game.
Alright then. What is your silly Sliver's ability?
Well, I think it's impossible to give another ability to Slivers because Slivers have all mood of abilities. They have Fear Strike, they have Trample, they have Admana, they have all abilities that can exist in game. For that, it's really impossible to give a silly ability or another ability to Slivers. Yeah, is my opinion.
Okay, I get it. So all Slivers have too many abilities already. That's pretty good, honestly. Since it's Thanksgiving here today, my silly Slivers ability is the same for many other Americans. All Slivers have eaten too much food today. Fat Sliver. Tim, thanks so much for taking time out of your week to come on the podcast. It was a pleasure to have you.
To say goodbye, my dear friend, first of all, I want to apologize for my bad English. I promise practice more and more. Thank you for inviting me. I think you do a good job, and I wish your channel grow with the time. We need more channels like that with all information and trivias to laugh and get fun.
And thanks once more for Tim taking the time to come on the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you. Tim is the ultimate grinder. He grinds whatever game he's playing, and right now he's playing Pauper, and he's on top of the leaderboards because he's grinding it out with Stompy. And that's the reason he plays Stompy. That's the attraction, is he's able to play an entire league in just about an hour. It's not necessarily because the deck beats Tron, which I know a lot of people looked at Tim's win and said, well, perhaps Tron isn't so dominant. But for the most part, the inverse is true. There were only 4 Tron players in the challenge that Tim won, one of whom still made the top 8. Rumor has it that some of the best Tron players took off this challenge to play other games because that would have been more fun than playing Tron all day. Coming up on the podcast, 2 exciting things in the month of December. Brazilian Pauper Nationals happens this weekend. Over 200 players registered actual paper Magic the Gathering decks to battle out Pauper for a huge event for which, to my understanding, you have to be qualified to participate in. I'm going to do my best to speak with somebody about Brazilian Nationals a little bit more. Also going to cover the last Pauper playoff of 2019. Find someone freshly qualified for the Format Championship. And I hope you join me when I get around to both those things. We'll see you next week.